Hi everyone, my name is Rachel, and in this presentation, I'm going to walk through my analysis of how political climate relates to the way different housing markets recovered after the 2008 financial crisis. I looked specifically at Cook County in Illinois, Dallas County in Texas, and Maricopa County in Arizona. My goal wasn't to say politics cause housing outcomes, but to explore whether political stability tends to line up with smoother or more predictable recovery patterns in home prices. As for my table of contents, I've got my introduction slide coming up, my thesis slash core idea, why did I select these counties, the data sources I used, and the variables and methodology, and then some visuals and key findings, and finally the key takeaways. The big idea behind this project is that housing markets don't exist in a vacuum. They're influenced by the policies, regulations, and long term planning choices of the places they're in. Counties with certain political environments often develop different zoning rules, different public service priorities, and different approaches to growth. So I wanted to see whether these political environments show up and how quickly or how smoothly home prices bounce back from the housing crash. As for my thesis and core idea, my thesis is that the counties with more stable political identities, especially ones that lean consistently in one direction, tend to have more predictable regulatory environments. That stability can help create steady, moderate recovery patterns. Cook County is a great example of this. It's very consistently Democratic, and its home price recovery was gradual but stable. In contrast, Dallas and Maricopa counties have seen more political shifts and more rapid growth, and their home price recovery was much sharper and more volatile. Um, Sorry. Why these counties? I chose Cook, Dallas, and Maricopa because they represent three very different political and demographic environments. Cook County is dense, urban, and deeply democratic. Dallas County has been shifting politically over the last 2 decades, and Maricopa County is one of the fastest growing areas in the country, historically Republican but changing. This contrast makes it easier to see whether politics might line up with differences in housing recovery patterns. For this analysis, my primary data source was the New York Federal Reserve's House Price Index, which provides county level home price estimates from 2004 to 2015. I also used political data from presidential voting patterns, along with research from places like Brookings and the Urban Institute that talk about zoning strictness, development patterns, and population trends. Putting these together helped me interpret why we see certain differences between the counties. For my variables and method, the main variable I looked at was the HPI, the house price index, which shows how much home value rise or fall within the year. Then I compared those trends with contextual factors tied to each county, like zoning rules, population growth, density, and political consistency. The method was pretty straightforward. I tracked each county from 2004, looked at their peak before the crash, how deep they fell, and how strongly they recovered. This leads into my two visuals, which are the HPI graph and the data table that I created with my findings. This graph really highlights the main pattern I want to emphasize. Cook County shows a slower decline and a steadier recovery. It doesn't skyrocket, but it doesn't have wild fluctuations either. Dallas and Maricopa, on the other hand, have much sharper rebounds. The Sunbelt counties especially see rapid increases after 2012, which matches their population booms and more flexible zoning policies. This supports the idea that political and regulatory environments shape how markets respond to a crisis. When you look at the actual HPI values, you can see that these differences are more clear. Cook County stays in a narrow range with moderate year-to-year movement. Dallas and Maricopa cross higher HPI levels more quickly and show stronger acceleration after the recession. The table helps show that this isn't just a visual trend. The numbers reflect meaningful differences in stability, speed of recovery, and long term growth. Additionally, I have my key findings. So, what does all of this mean? For Cook County, political stability and stricter zoning seem tied to slower but steadier recovery. For Dallas County, rapid development and shifting political politics align with faster and more variable home price trends. In Maricopa County, with its high growth and historically conservative but changing environment, shows one of the strongest rebounds overall. The big takeaway is that political climate shapes the regulatory environment, and that environment shapes how housing markets behave after a shock. For my final takeaway, in conclusion, while politics don't directly cause home price changes, they help create the conditions that influence recovery. Counties with stable political identities may have more predictable long term planning and regulations, resulting in steadier recovery patterns. Places experiencing political shifts or rapid growth may see more aggressive rebounds. This analysis helps us think about how political changes today might influence housing markets in the future. Thanks for listening to my project. And then finally, I have my sources on this page. Thanks again.